Order of operations refers to what order do we do math problems in? What is the correct order? In the past, you probably heard of PEMDAS. That is PEMDAS. To help remember this, we have the phrase, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. The P is for parentheses, but actually it refers to a broader category of grouping symbols. Anything that can group is what we're talking about. Parentheses are one example, but sometimes you'll see brackets, which are essentially exactly the same thing as parentheses. Occasionally other things can group, like a square root. Before I take the square root of 8 plus 1, I have to add the 8 and 1, square root of 9, and what number times itself is 9? Well, that's 3. Divide can group. If I had 6 plus 4 over 2 plus 3, I can't divide until I add first. Because I have to add first, things are grouped. 6 plus 4 is 10, 2 plus 3 is 5, 10 divided by 5 is 2. There are lots of things that can group. Grouping refers to operations that have to be completed before I can work the rest of the problem out. E is for exponents. The common error with multiply and divide and add and subtract is that you must understand that these operations have to be done left to right. So just like you read a book, you start at the left and you go to the right. But keep in mind, you have to do all your multiplying and dividing before you do any adding and subtracting. You do not multiply first, you do not divide first, you do whichever comes first, left or right. Once you've done all the multiplying and dividing, you go to adding and subtracting. You do not add first, you do not subtract first, you do whichever comes first, left to right. Let's look at some examples. 2 times 5 squared. A lot of students want to make this 10 squared, but this is not equal to 10 squared. That's multiplication. And if you look at PEMDAS, that E is there for a reason. The reason is the exponent only applies to the number it's on. And the exponent is only on the 5. So you must do the exponent before you multiply. This is 2 times 25. 2 times 25 ends up being 50. 8 minus 15 divided by negative 3 plus 2 times 6. So PEMDAS, there's no exponents, there's no parentheses. Well, you might look at those and go, Mr. Caldwell, aren't those parentheses? These parentheses, all they do is separate the two symbols. Nothing's being grouped. Remember how I said that P is parentheses, but really it's grouping symbols, stuff that's being grouped. So all the parentheses do here is separate the divide and the minus. This is typically the way you'd see it in a textbook. So I'm going to multiply and divide. And what order do I do those in? Left to right. So this is 8 minus, and since left to right, this is first, I'll go 15 divided by negative 3, which is negative 5 plus 2 times 6. Notice as I read this, the parentheses there again mean multiply. They're not grouping anything. Notice the double negative. The double negative, when you subtract a negative, is a positive. That's really 8 plus 5 plus, and now I'm going to do my multiplying because I do all my multiplying and dividing before I add and subtract. 2 times 6 is 12. Now it's left to right, like a book. Start over here on the left. 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 plus 12 is 25. Two more examples. Negative 12 minus 2. A lot of students want to subtract here, but you can't do that because there's multiplication between the 2 and the parentheses. You have to multiply first. And you can't multiply because you have parentheses. PEMDAS. The parentheses come first. So this is negative 12 minus 2 times, in the parentheses I have subtraction and multiplication, so I've got to multiply first. 20 minus 10. I still have parentheses, I have to do those first. Negative 12 minus 2 times 10. Now I have subtraction and I have multiplication. Multiplication comes first. Negative 12 minus 20. And negative 12 minus 20 is negative 32. Last example. I've got parentheses. Let's do that first. Negative 20 divided by 4 plus 2. In the parentheses, I have more parentheses. And I can't take 3 minus 2 because there's times right here. So this is 3 minus 2 times 8. In the parentheses, I have subtraction and multiplication. Multiply comes before adding and subtracting. This is negative 20 divided by 4 plus 2 times 3 minus 16. I still have the parentheses, so I'll keep going. Negative 20 divided by 4 plus 2 times 3 minus 16 is negative 13. I have divide, I have add, and I have multiply. Now divide and multiply, what comes first? You don't multiply first, you don't divide first, you do them left to right, like a book. So, like a book, I'm going to start at the left and go to the right. So the division comes first. This is negative 20 divided by 4, which is negative 5. Plus 2 times negative 13. Now let's go up here with it. Negative 5 plus 2 times negative 13. I have addition and multiplication. I do all my multiplying and dividing before I add. So this is negative 5 plus negative 26. And negative 5 plus negative 26 is negative 31. So remember, P stands for parentheses, but it's really grouping symbols. It could be brackets, it could be parentheses. Other things can group too, like a square root or a division. Absolute value can group, and you'll keep running into things. You have to do the things that are grouped first because you can't do the other operations until you finish the grouping symbols. Remember, exponents come before multiply and divide. And when you multiply and divide left to right, and you do all that before you add and subtract, which are left to right.